Okay guys, we're going to get right into the video. So this is a question from one of my previous videos. He says, I'm natural, 35 years old, and recently got a blood test and had low test levels. I'm just wondering if you could do a video on a complete breakdown of everything you've done to get your test levels back into a strong and normal range. So yes, as you guys know, my background. I power lifter, totaled 2,100 pounds raw, 772 pounds squat, 463 pound bench, and an 871 pound deadlift in competition in the 242 pound weight class. I ran PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, everything from testosterone, trenbolone, dianabol, anadrol, anavar, NPP. I've tried everything over the years. Did that for 9 years up until age 29, and then as of November coming up here, so November 15th, it will be 3 months since I stopped taking everything, testosterone and PEDs, the whole 9 yards. And my testosterone levels back in April were at 500 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone. So the question, how did I rebound things back from that point, when really 90 days after I'd come off everything, my testosterone levels were 38 nanograms per deciliter. Derek from More Plates, More Dates did a video back then about that, which I can link in the description. The really old video from a couple years ago. It's kind of crazy to look back on now and see how far things have come. So how did things bounce back? Is it possible for things to bounce back? And yes, apparently it is. 500, not tremendously high, but not low either. That's a good range to be in. And I do wonder if I get a more recent panel done, if things will be even higher, because it's just been, things have continuously gone up over the last couple months and last couple of years. It's just been a gradual process. It's one of those things you just have to kind of wait it out. So I wouldn't say there's an exact science to it, but basically if you were to make the decision, if any of you guys out there, to come off PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, or testosterone, you have to be patient. It's part of the game. I can recollect and say that the first year that I was off everything, I really had virtually no libido. So performance wise, that has never been a problem. Since I've come off, the actual sexual function, not a problem, never been a problem. It's the libido that was not there for the first year. And I want to say I started feeling normal around a year and a half afterward. So a year and a half, I started feeling pretty good. And then nowadays, I feel tremendous. I feel like I never even took PEDs. So I would say after about 2 years, no side effects. Don't feel like I took them ever. Don't feel anything negative. I feel really normal. I'd still like to get my testosterone back into that 600 range. 600 would be great. I've seen all sorts of blood work. I've seen hundreds of panels over the years. It's one of the things I studied quite a bit with Leo and Longevity, Vigor, Steve. I had guys like that in my corner teaching me all this stuff, breaking down the biochemistry of the body and hormone function and all that sort of thing. So I've tried all the supplements. Let's kind of get into everything. I've tried all the natural testosterone boosters. I've tried pretty much all of them over the course of the last 2 years at various times. So I did try Tongkat Ali. I did try Fedosia agrestis. I tried Tribulus. I tried ashwagandha. I didn't really give a fair shot at it. I didn't run it very long because I was worried about the effects that it can have on dopamine, where it can almost downregulate the dopamine receptors if you take it too long. So it's not necessarily the best thing to rely on over a long period of time, as it can affect dopamine. So I didn't really give that a fair shot. I ran it for about a week or two, and then I just was like, this probably isn't a good idea. So that one I can't comment on too much. I also tried Boron. I tried Boron at 30 milligrams. Borotab was the brand. You can get this 30 milligrams of boron, very high dose. The idea here being to suppress SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. It's a hormone that, when it's very high, it will suppress free testosterone levels. So the idea would be you bring down SHBG, free testosterone rises. I really didn't see a notable difference from this. I didn't feel like the boron raised my free testosterone much, if at all. And that's at a very high dose. Most doses of boron are between 5 and 10 milligrams. So 30, I wasn't trying to flatline my SHBG. That was never the goal. It didn't happen. SHBG, I think the lowest I've gotten it is like 15, maybe 18, somewhere in that range. I've gotten so many blood panels done, I can't 100%, make the call on that exactly where it was. But SHBG, I feel like that was not affected big time by boron. Some people it works, and that's the thing you got to understand. This stuff works for some people it's not going to have any effect on. What works for me may not work for you. When I was running PEDs, Anadrol never did anything for me, but I would get amazing results from Anavar. But then I know guys who swear by Anadrol like Larry Wheels, so it's just a different ball game. But boron I felt like didn't help at all. I did feel like Tongkat Ali and Fedosia agrestis helped to some extent. I would say Tongkat Ali is probably the best natural testosterone booster, because early on when I was taking it, I felt like I had a 100-point boost, 100 nanograms per deciliter in that natural testosterone level. So I would say Tongkat Ali has the most merit, and I was taking that at 500 milligrams per day. Fedosia agrestis, which is mainly used to boost luteinizing hormone, which luteinizing hormone is a precursor to testosterone production. I feel like that helped to some extent, but maybe not to the degree of Tongkat Ali. But if you're going to do like a double whammy natural testosterone boosting protocol, I would say Tongkat Ali with Fedosia agrestis is probably the best bang for your buck. There's other things out there. Cistanche, I have not tried that personally. That's another Asian herb that is said to boost testosterone. That's one I haven't tried. And then there's, Tribulus. Tribulus didn't do anything either. Tribulus was like the original testosterone booster. Natural testosterone booster. I really didn't see anything from that. So a lot of these herbs, all the natural testosterone boosters are basically herbs. They're medicinal, natural herbs. And I think they're very hit or miss. I don't think they move the needle that much. I don't think you're going to see these tremendous, hyped up, massive boosts in testosterone. I know there was a period of time where there was a ton of hype around natural testosterone boosters. But quite frankly, I don't think you're going to see this massive difference. I don't think they're going to boost things to the level, the 200-300 point level that has been discussed previously. I just haven't seen the anecdotal evidence of that in myself or in others. But if you're looking for maybe a little smaller, like a 100-point bump, I think that's possible, particularly on Tongkat Ali and Fedosia agrestis, which I feel like are the only ones that are really worth the money. But they're not something I would run all the time. I haven't run them in ages. It's just one of those things that I don't feel like I feel that much different between a 400 test level and a 500, or I would feel that different between a 500 and a 600. At some point, your hormones stabilize to where you feel pretty good all the time, and that's where I'm at now. The one thing you got to realize, too, is the body is a system. So if your thyroid's performing more optimally, your liver, your kidneys, if all of this stuff is performing together in a more optimal fashion, you're going to feel better, you're going to lift better, you're going to be stronger. Your skin's going to look better. Your skin's going to clear up. Your testosterone's going to go up. So I feel like you have to look at the entire hormonal system. Is your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, if that's very high, your thyroid is going to be performing suboptimally. So get the TSH down. If TSH goes down, you're going to have a better thyroid function. You're going to be healthier. Look at your ALT, AST, liver enzymes. Kidney function, creatinine, BUN, these can be skewed by muscle mass. You can look at cystatin C, though. These are all functions that will show how well your body's performing. C-reactive protein, inflammation. Inflammation is a huge thing that's always talked about. And the problem with some of these hormones, they fluctuate so much. So one snippet in time of what your testosterone is where it's at, is not going to be completely accurate to the bigger picture. This is why you have to do multiple readings of it, get it checked every couple months, because you can't just look at one reading and say, oh, I have low testosterone. Like, it doesn't work like that. You got to look at multiple readings to get a better picture. If you have, say, 3 to 4 blood work panels taken over the course of 8 months, every 2 months, and they're all low, very possible, very likely that you do have low testosterone. But if you just get one test done and it's low and it comes back at 250 or 300, that's not necessarily where you're at all the time. You have to account for training factors. Have you been training hard, which can temporarily suppress it? Have you not been sleeping as much? That can suppress it. How well is your body functioning? That can suppress it. All these things. This is where even doing cardio making your body perform better could theoretically raise your testosterone levels because the whole system is firing better. So you have to look at a lot of different factors, which is why it's very tricky to nail stuff down, because there's a lot of variation depending day to day, how you're feeling, stress levels, sleep, all sorts of stuff, training, how taxing your training's been. So that's why look at the bigger picture. Don't look at exactly just that one snippet in time. But the other thing I should say is, if you guys are going to get your testosterone checked, please go with the LC/MS. LC/MS, that's the test you're going to want to do. It's a more expensive test. I think it runs about $70 on Merrick, maybe $80, compared to the standard testosterone check, because the LCMS is much more accurate. It's a much more accurate test. It's very sensitive. Whereas if you just get the standard testosterone check, there can be variation of, in my opinion, upwards of 50 to 100 nanograms per deciliter. So the standard test, although cheaper at $20 for total testosterone, is not going to be anywhere near as accurate as the LC/MS scale. So spend the extra money to get that checked. You can use Merrick. I have a code on there, Pete. I don't get any kickback from them, by the way. I don't get any kickback. They have given me free labs, but I don't get kickback. So I'll be transparent about that. But that's the best company, honestly, because you can custom order everything. But that's the one I would go with. Similar to estradiol. Estradiol, if you order the sensitive test, is much more accurate than just the standard, which is just an estimation. So LCMS, make sure you do that one. You got to look at factors like luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. Luteinizing hormone is the precursor, as I said earlier, to testosterone production. So if the luteinizing hormone is super low, that could be a major reason why in this pathway of testosterone production, your testosterone's low. So that might be where a Fedosia agrestis to potentially raise LH would be useful. But you got to look at those hormones as well. What is your luteinizing hormone at? What is your follicle stimulating hormone at? FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is the precursor to sperm production. Look at that as well. So it's very complicated. There's no clear answer on any of this. I know there's been the talk of literally the icing protocol as far as icing your testicles, and Vigorous Steve has talked about this. I just don't see it being very practical. I mean, how many guys can or want to sit around multiple times a day icing their testicles? Lucas from, I forget the name of his company. He's on here as well. He talks about it. They're big on it. And they've said it can bring up testosterone 100 points. I just don't think, as far as bang for your buck, like what it's going to actually do to raise your testosterone slightly from icing, I don't think it's very practical or worth it. It just seems ridiculous. And I just can't imagine like being at home and you're icing your testicles and how that's going to go over. Everyone's going to be like, what are you doing? It's just weird. It's not something that's sustainable. So I don't think that's the answer either. I think overall, getting the body in as healthy a state as possible, getting as lean as possible to where you're not having body fat and all these hormone disruptors, like eating a clean diet is going to help. I think the most general stuff is what's going to move the needle the most. I don't think testosterone boosters, natural testosterone boosters, are necessarily the answer, but they can help. So you just, it's being healthy, being patient, all this stuff, getting multiple checks done, looking at the LCMS scale. Like, these are the things I would do. Tongkat Elite might be worth it. I would say that's the one that's worth it. Get the long jack version. That one's the better version from what I've researched. It's going to work better. So I can't recall off the top of my head the brand I used, but these are all the things that I've done, my experiences with raising testosterone. If you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I'm going to really try to keep content coming. In the comments, if you guys have any video ideas, video topics you want me to do, I will do them. Let me know what you guys are most interested in. I will make a video on that next. Check out my Bighorn barbell apparel shirts. This is the custom tank version. This hasn't been released yet, but you can get these on barbellapparel.com, the shirt. Appreciate the support from everybody. Training for the 100 miler, training to deadlift 650 pounds. Big things coming. Thank you guys.